Hey y'all, here at OS Reviews. Roughly 1 year ago, we checked out the GOTRAX rival, also known as the GXL V2, which was a pretty affordable sub $300 electric scooter. Worked pretty well for an entry-level unit, including a top speed of 15.5 miles an hour. It had 8.5-inch air-filled pneumatic tires, and reached 12 miles in terms of maximum range. Well, today we're taking a look at basically a more upscale model from the same company. Tires have upgraded from 8.5 now to 10 inches. They're still pneumatic and air-filled for a slightly smoother riding experience. The motor has also gone up to 500 watts and supports top speed of 20 miles an hour, so about 5 miles an hour faster, and more importantly, the range has increased from 12 miles now to 28 miles on a full charge. So higher battery endurance, more powerful motor will allow it to climb slightly rougher terrain in terms of going off of gravel grounds. The smoother ride is also aided by shock absorbers on the front tire, which were missing on the cheaper model. So this now represents more of a flagship grade scooter experience, but also expect to pay roughly twice the price. This one here retailing for around $650. So whether that makes sense or not depends on if you are planning to ride on a slightly longer endurance routes and need something a little bit more powerful in terms of climbing ability. What hasn't changed though is this is still a relatively simple plug-and-play unit, meaning that there is no companion app, and everything is controlled on the scooter's LCD display directly. You do get LED lights now on the base plate, which when the scooter is turned on makes it slightly more illuminated when you're riding in darker environments, which is both a safety function and also makes it look a little bit more cool from a design perspective, and it supports riders up to 264 pounds in terms of weight. The packaging that it comes in is definitely larger than the GOTRAX rival. Some basic info is printed on the side, and otherwise inside here we have just the scooter itself. And voila, just flipping it around, taking off the plastic wrap, we have pretty much the scooter in a ready-to-use place. You can see the tires are already pre-assembled, including the kickstand. The only thing you have to attach would be the handlebar, which is located in the only other box that also contains the charger and user manual, which by the way does require a couple of screws to attach firmly onto the end of the rod. As you can see there, it takes just about 5 minutes out of the box and you're ready to go. So a quick look here at design. It's still mostly similar to the rival in terms of there's that GOTRAX logo on the main bar, which can fold down. There is a clip over here that has to attach onto the side here for using that bar to carry it around. Although keep in mind that the added endurance, mostly the battery as well as bigger wheels, does make this thing heavier than the lightweight rival. This one coming in at over 40 pounds, so it's still not really designed for you to constantly walk around with it in your hands, but should still be small enough in a e-bike if you're just stowing it into the trunk of a car, for example, or taking it onto a bus. Otherwise, the rubber accents for the handles feel quite comfy. We have brakes on both the left and right sides. There is a kind of classic bell here, which can be wrong, and otherwise the LCD display is relatively bright, showing you just your current speed. You can change between kilometers and miles per hour. There's also 2 different speed modes, which will limit the maximum speed that you can reach for safety measure. You also get a gauge of the battery percentage which is remaining and how long that you've ridden the unit. So in terms of a full charge, the battery takes around 5 hours to completely top up, and otherwise we have just the power key, which you can tap on 2 times to also turn on the front light and the tail light, which as you can see here is relatively bright and makes it easier to again ride in slightly darker spaces. This thing is rainproof, so small puddles really shouldn't be an issue. It also triggers the brake light here, which if you are pressing on the brakes, it will flash. Otherwise, this part here is for controlling the speed. You can also hold on this key for 10 seconds to enter the cruise control mode, so you don't have to continue pressing down, and it will continue going at the current speed that it's reached. So pretty conventional in terms of layout, nothing that we haven't really seen before. Again, constructed out of metal, it feels quite sturdy, and the base plate is a lot wider in terms of the deck than on many of the cheaper models, which makes it pretty comfy no matter where you are actually standing on it, just as a size reference, with pretty good use of reflectors and a kickstand that you can collapse downwards as well. Here's just a closer look at the brakes and the wheels, which again are 10 inches, air-filled, so just keep in mind that it's not going to be puncture-proof compared to solid tires, but it's also going to give you, again, a little bit more of a softer, more shock-absorbing. Let's take a closer look at the riding experience next. So as you can tell from that demo, overall it is a very smooth and comfy experience. Thanks to the suspensions, even though they are smaller again than a e-bike, this is pretty much the most powerful and smoothest experience you can expect on a e-scooter here at the moment. This thing is even more powerful than the Highboy Max 3 that we reviewed a couple months back, which also has 10-inch tires but has a slightly weaker top speed due to a 350 watt motor compared to, again, 500 on this, which is pretty much the same strength as many e-bikes, which is impressive since it's packed into such a small package. And it feels like there's plenty of power to move it around. It accelerates very quickly, making a pretty good travel companion if you are looking for a last mile commuter tool. It's worth noting that the ambient light, however, cannot change in terms of color. So it's this cyan blue by default. It's not really an RGB strip, which, again, if they had a companion app, would be pretty cool to make it even more customizable, but as it is, it's always going to be on in this one shade, but still looks quite neat. There are a couple of other safety functions as well, including a digital lock, which you can also set, so you have to press a series of keys to begin riding the unit if you don't want, let's say, strangers tampering with the scooter. With that being said, certain parts, including the battery on here, are not user removable, so those are still pieces, including a companion app, that are missing from the GOTRAX family at the moment. Perhaps they could consider adding in the future. But nonetheless, this is definitely a very powerful e-scooter, attractively designed, and plenty of power underneath the hood. You can check out additional details if you are interested in the links down below, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.